So hello, my name's Callum.
Hi, I'm Iwona.
We're going to be demonstrating a kind of a bridge version of a bit of a falls prevention class, working on some balance. Iwona and me are both going to contribute to it and give some teaching points and so we're going to start off with a seated warm-up, and then we're going to go into the main set, which is going to be a bit of standing stuff with chair supported, and then we'll finish with a seated cool down after that. Brilliant, yeah?
I'm ready.
Good, well we'll start off with the seated warm-up then, so. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to start off at the top and then we're going to work our way down, okay?
At this point, you could tell your patients to either stay seated all the way at the back to get plenty of support from the back of the chair. If they are able to sit by themselves unsupported, you could encourage them to do a little hip walk and leave a gap between the back and the back of the chair and support themselves using their own trunk.
Brilliant. Alright, so we'll just start off with some circles, so nice and slow. Good, and the other way. Obviously we would do these for about 20-30 seconds per exercise, but we're just going to do a shortened version today. Brilliant, and then we'll move on to some shoulder circles, so bringing your shoulders right up and back and down. You can hear my shoulders crunching away.
So with this particular mobility exercise or warm-up, we promote an open chest. We want to stop the upper back from rounding, so we promote open chest and we promote some tension going on between the shoulder blades.
Brilliant, so the next one we're going to do is just reaching up and then pulling down. Good. You're getting a stretch on your lat and then pulling down, engaging it, getting your shoulders nice and warm as well. Good, brilliant. And we're going to reach out like you're holding a big stick and you're just stirring a big pot.
Make sure that you relax your shoulders. You tell your patients to relax their shoulders.
Good, and the other way. Brilliant, and then we'll just go into some circles with our arms here, so coming over and up. You can start off getting bigger and bigger, and then work into a smaller circle again. Good, and then just moving into your wrists, so. And the other way. Brilliant, so that's most of our upper limb really done, and the neck, we're just going to move into some for our back, so it's going to be a spinal roll down. So we're going to tuck our chin down first, and just slowly lower yourself down, nice and controlled, just as low as you can, and then slowly coming back up. And your head being the last thing to come up at the end. Brilliant. So we do about 5 of those normally, but we'll just do one for the purpose of this. Next one, we're going to do some lateral flexion for the spine. So your hands just hanging relaxed by your side, and you're just going to lower down to the edge.
If you could imagine yourselves being between two panels or two walls, so you've got one in front of you, one behind you, so you are going directly from side to side, rather than leaning forward or leaning back.
Lovely. So the next one we're going to do is just going to reach up and down to the side. Good. And to the middle. Lovely. Brilliant. We're going to move into for our legs next and our hips. So we're going to do some circles with our hips. Good. Nice and controlled. Good, and then we're just going to kick our legs out.
With this, if you could focus on tensing the top of your thigh, making sure that there is no gap between the back of the thigh and the chair when the leg is lifting.
The last one we're going to do is just some ankle pumps. So pointing your toes to the sky, feeling that stretch on the back of your calf. Good. Brilliant, so that's the warm up done. So we've worked from top down, covered all the major joints there. And we're going to go into the main set now. So first thing is exercise we're going to do seated, and then we're going to come to stand with behind the chair, okay? So the first one is, if you're able to, you're going to have that nice unsupported back, engaging your core, sitting up nice and tall, and you're just going to lift your knee up and down. Good.
If anyone struggled how to engage their core, you could tell them to imagine that they are drawing their belly button back towards the spine.
Brilliant, and then we'll come to you behind the chair.
So before we come to standing, we would encourage people to shuffle forward first towards the edge of the chair. We then slide their feet back slightly. So feet must remain flat on the floor, but we are looking for less than 90-degree angle here. So feet and knees should be about hip width apart. We then teach them to take the nose of the toes and then push the floor away with the heels, come to standing. Lovely, and now we are ready to walk behind the chair.
Brilliant, so for this we're going to start off, I'm going to have both the hands supported on the chair. As we progress the levels, you can move on to kind of one hand support and ultimately no hand support, but for this we're going to stick with the two hand support for now.
So in order to promote lovely posture and making sure that the centre of gravity is where it should be, again to stop people from falling, we would encourage anyone in a standing position to have their feet about hip width apart. We would then ask them to move their shoulders very gently forward, lift them up, set them all the way down and back. So at this point we've got open chest, we've got slight tension going on between the shoulder blades, and we've got a lot of space between the ears and the shoulders.
Great, so the first one we're going to do is just coming forward and up onto your toes.
The weight of your body should go over the big toe and the second toe, making sure that the heels drive in line with the legs as you are climbing up. And we imagine that the crown of the head is aiming to touch the ceiling, so we want to go straight up rather than forward.
Brilliant. And then, so the next exercise is going to be just knee flexion. So I'll let Iwona talk us through it because she's got the tips for this one.
So with this one, again, we would start with feet about hip width apart, and we would teach the patients to start sliding their foot or their toes back to a point when you lose the contact with the floor, at which point we start to bend the knee. The reason why we do it this way is we don't want anybody to lift the knee forward. We want the knee to be bending in order to engage the hamstrings. So we slide the foot back, and then when we lose the contact with the floor, we start to bend the knee. You could also tell patients that at this point they might feel a slight cramping sensation in the back of the thigh, which is not unusual.
Brilliant, so the next one's going to be just hip abduction. So we're standing up nice and tall again, remembering posture like Iwona's taught us, and then we're going to just transfer your weight onto one of your left foot, and you're just going to, with your toes facing forwards, bring your foot out to the side, feeling that on the outside of your glutes, glute med.
So as Callum said, it's very important that we mention to people the toes need to be facing forward, otherwise all we do is we obviously rotate the hip here, but what we want to engage the abductors, so toes are facing forward.
Brilliant, so next one is again working on that glute med and lateral movement, but we're going to do some side steps. So we're going to just, using your hands to support, you can just slide your hands along, keeping that toe facing forward, like with the hip abduction. I think a lot of people, and we all do have that tendency to externally rotate, so that's what we're kind of training here as well.
Still promoting posture and promoting individual pace, so everyone is different and some people's steps might be smaller, bigger, so just encouraging people not to compete and do whatever they are able to do. If anyone is able not to use support, or maybe just use one hand, again, this is something that could be encouraged throughout the class.
Brilliant, so next exercise is just going to be some toe raises, so it's kind of the opposite of our calf raises that we do, and you're just going to be bringing your toes up to the sky, transferring your weight into your heels, and you can kind of feel your weight moving backwards and fighting that resist to fall backwards.
We stop the bum from sticking out, so this is what we don't want to see. We want to focus on the flexion in your foot in order to obviously promote gait and stop people from shuffling their feet and not lifting them.
Fantastic. That's all the exercises for the main set for this level 1. We do have level 2 and level 3 and level 4, which has more progressive exercises and a few more exercises in. That's something we progress on an individual basis. As you doing your Tonetti assessment before somebody's potentially doing this class, then we'd reassess them afterwards, and that works as the outcome measure as well. Next thing we're going to do is a little talk about just if you did have a fall, how you would actually get back up from that, which is really important because it's making sure that they do know how to do it, but it also can greatly reduce the fear of falling. If you have a plan in place for if you do fall, then it can take some of the anxiety away around what will happen if you did have one. Brilliant, so we'll come and have a sit down and then we'll have a talk through this. Great, so if you did have a fall at home, what kind of thing would you think you would do?
I would want to shout for help.
Mm-hmm.
So I would want to raise awareness that I've fallen and that perhaps I'm injured.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. Trying to get someone to help is definitely going to be the best option. So if you had your mobile phone on you, obviously you can try and call somebody. As alternatively, if you have a falls alarm, you can always use that. Now I know a lot of people did leave the phone in the bedroom and they've not got it in the house, and even with your falls alarm, people just have them hanging up on a coat hanger somewhere and kind of forget about them. So in the event that you didn't have that and you couldn't contact anybody, you would have to think about potentially getting up. Now the first thing is, if you're on the floor and you have had a fall, you need to think if you're in kind of really high pain, you could potentially have broken something. So you want to have a feel for yourself, see if you can feel any bones actually sticking out or anything. And
shall I maybe demonstrate?
Yeah.
So again, I'm shuffling forward towards the front of the chair. I'm taking my feet back. Nose goes over toes, chest is nice and proud. We push the floor away with the heels, we come to standing. So this one, I'm just going to demonstrate lying down. So I've fallen and I'm not rushing to get up. I need to assess myself to make sure that I haven't damaged anything, I haven't broken a bone or dislocated anything, like Callum said.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant, so you check that and you're confident that you're okay, you're in a position where you're going to try and get up. Now you could try and make some noise as well by banging on the floor or ringing on a radiator or other kind of means of drawing attention to yourself. If you did think that you'd broken something and you weren't going to try and get up, you would want to just try and draw attention to yourself. Now we've decided that we're going to try and get up, so the way that we're going to do this is by first of all rolling over. So you're going to lift your knee up and then bring your knee over your body, and you can reach your hand over there as well. Brilliant, and then your hand's in place there, and then you can just slide your other hand through so that you're in kind of like a little baby cobra. Brilliant, and then you found your way onto all fours. So the next thing I'd do is try and crawl to the nearest chair, or it could be the kitchen sink if you're in the bathroom, alternatively or the toilet, but anything that's going to be a good support for you to get up. And then you're going to step with your strong leg through into a lunge position. Brilliant. Tuck your toe there, and then you can use that chair to lean forward, put some weight through that and push up. Brilliant. And then you can swivel around and sit back on the chair and get your breath back and everything.
So one thing we haven't mentioned, we were teaching how to safely perform sit to stand, but equally when you were sitting back down, we would encourage people to feel the chair on the back of their legs and then start to push the bottom back towards the back of the chair. So hinging at the hips, that's the first movement, and then lower down as slowly as they can.
Brilliant. So that's kind of how we'd, the last thing we do it in the main section of the class, and then the last thing we'd finish off with is just a bit of a seated cool down, just some seated stretches. We can have a quick demonstration of those now. Obviously we would kind of hold these stretches for 30 seconds or so, but we'll just kind of do them quickly today so you can have a look at the kind of thing. So I'll work the same way that we did the warm up. We're going to go from head down. So first one's just some static neck stretches, and you can bring your hand as well and just give yourself a little bit of pressure there. Good, and then the other side. Brilliant. And then do a reaching forward, so you hugging a big tree, and you're going to push forward and drop your head. Feel the stretch on the upper back. Good. And then I just do a reaching your arm forwards and across your body, hand onto your elbow and across. Try and keep that shoulder down. Good.
Avoiding pressing with the joint.
Avoiding pressing on the joint. Good, and then you do the other side for that one. I then do a reaching over the top, and then coming onto the back of your back there for your triceps. Brilliant. And then after that I do just bringing your hands together, and then you can slide down, just for our wrists. Good. And then the next one we do is you're reaching up and to the side, but we just have a static hold here. And then back to the middle. And then we go to the other side with that one as well. I then do my roll down again. So, and then I just have a little pause at the bottom with that one. And then up nice and slowly. Good. And then for this next one I do an adductor, so I just step out and then just apply some pressure. It's not necessarily the most effective stretch for adductors, but with a lot of the patients who I do it with, they do have really tight muscles, so it does work for them. Good. And then the last one is just seated, so you're going to point your toes to the sky and you're just going to bend forward. You're stretching your hamstring and your calf.
For this one, if you make sure that you support yourself on the leg that isn't stretching, just in case we slide down, press a little bit too hard and cause an injury. We could also do a separate stretch for the hamstrings, so rather than lifting your toes, if we point the toes down towards the floor, and then again have the chest lifted, take a deep breath in and lower down towards the leg, and the patients might feel or should feel the stretch between sort of knee and the bottom, and then sitting up and stretching the calves separately, so now pointing the toes.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Thanks.
So this was just a quick overview of level 1. Of course, there are a lot more progressive exercises such as dynamic balance that perhaps in the future we might demonstrate with Callum as well. But this was just a quick overview of level 1.
Brilliant. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.